Welcome back, everybody. Stochastic Agency, my name is Brian. Today is August 26th, and we're still rambling our way through the last leg of 2022's RPG a Day. Still continuing to talk about character and the character that you're currently playing. So it's all about motivation today. Why does your character do what they do? Well, Sylvester has been, and his family has been, members of the Lord Washburn's military for quite some time. They've grown up in Dredgewater. They know the lay of the land. They are very motivated to help protect the peasantry during these dark times and to see everyone through to the other side. Currently, if you had watched the video on what's the current situation, so let's kind of dive into this a little bit more. I mean, Sylvester is motivated by loyalty to his lord, someone that he has sworn fealty to, right? But he also is beginning to see that these trying times can even wear down such a person like him, like Lord Washburn. And in this, he sees the kind of the tearing down of the weight of responsibility and what that can do to someone who is elevated to such a position to have that kind of responsibility. It's not something that Sylvester himself would probably ever necessarily feel like he wants to have responsibility for that many people. But being a resident of Dredgewater, he does see what's going on in the village, the current state of hunger and the peasantry, making them very desperate, the conflict between the pagans and the Christians, the introduction of this cult-like activity that's been going on, and he does feel a sense of responsibility that he needs to help keep the peace in whatever capacity he can, while still following orders. But he's made some choices that put him into a very dangerous position. He's kept some resources from going directly to Lord Washburn and diverted those resources to the peasantry themselves in one way or another. He's colluded with peasantry in Dredgewater to help disperse resources that he can supply, what meager resources he can supply on his own, and to also help protect those resources from the peasantry, which puts him in conflict between three groups of people. The peasantry themselves, Lord Washburn, and his own sense of duty and loyalty to both groups. He's doing it because, one, that innate sense of familia that I've often gotten from many people who I've met that were Italian. And it's just kind of this communal sense. I don't know of any other way to put it. But they always seem to be very tight knit. And that's kind of one of the aspects that influences Sylvester's personality, is that he feels this tie to his family. He wants to make sure that his family and his father and his mother and all of them and his siblings are taken care of. But that grows in these dark times to the greater community of Dredgewater, even at the expense of doing something that may be seen wrong by Lord Washburn, traitor, where he could be punished by death, which, if I remember correctly, was kind of the stated law at this time, during these dark times and these dark ages of man. It's about a sense of duty to the person next to you, the person above you, the person below you in station. It's about trying to find this compromise between very desperate answers to a very desperate situation. You know, the depredation, the famine, this thing that's going on in the game world right now is a time for hard choices and to take responsibility for those hard choices. You know, and expecting that if things are found out, you know, all these actions that Sylvester has taken are discovered, that he's doing this knowing that he'll be held accountable, that he's doing it knowing that he believes he's doing the right thing, even though he knows that he could be punished by death. He himself has not become very desperate because he's a resourceful individual. And being a resourceful individual, he's made decisions throughout the first session when resources or opportunities were presented to try and leverage them in different directions to quell the unrest, the blaming of the cult activity on the pagans, the Christians' persecution and conversion by force of the pagans, the ever evolving, what seems to be ever evolving despotic and paranoid rulership by Lord Washburn, the undermining the discovery of the wagon with the supplies that were supposed to go to the pagans and one of Lord Mort's mercenaries, you know, this ongoing greater level of conflict between the two fiefdoms, the survivalship and stewardship of the peasantry in Dredgewater, which is already, you know, fraught with the setup session that came before this for, I believe, Jason's in-home group. You know, they experienced, I guess there must have been some floodwater melt somewhere that washed away some hovels. So it's not only is it, you know, there's this past environmental disaster, there's this military conflict going on, there's this religious conflict going on, there's social conflict going on, and, you know, Sylvester is just trying to find his place in it and help those he can while putting his neck on the chopping block. He's doing it because he's human. He sees the suffering that's going on. He knows that if times really came to it and he had to flee for his life, that he has the skills to survive on his own, even though that would mean abandoning his family. It's a lot to go over. Because of why he has done what he's done, and Sylvester has made the choices that he did, he's positioned many people around him in peril, some with their knowing and some without their knowing. And he's definitely placed himself in peril, accepting the responsibility of his decisions, expecting that he would be held accountable by the letter of the law, by Lord Washburn, for what he's done. But he can't just, while he has the power to do so and the skills to do so, he can't sit idly by and not do what he can for those around him. Tough choices, accountability and responsibility in dark times. Here we are at the end of this video. Again, everybody, thanks for stopping in and checking it out. Get out there, introduce a couple more people to RPGs. Have some fun at your table, and by all means, just continue to be good to each other out there.